What is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today I'm reviewing the Lane 8 Trainer 81. So 3 pros that I have with this model is number 1, I think this could be a good training shoe for folks with narrow width feet. And now more specifically, if you're an athlete and lifter and when you invest in training shoes, you constantly feel like they're either too wide or the upper is too loose and you're like swimming around in the upper, this could be a viable option to explore. The last construction of this shoe is pretty narrow and the upper is a little bit more form-fitting in regard to its overall volume. So if you have that specific type of foot anatomy, this could be a good training shoe to look into. The second pro that I have with this model is the appearance is pretty unique and they are okay for more recreational cross training. So more specifically, if you like this knit upper and the microfiber overlays and this lace construction, they are a pretty clean shoe for more daily wear and they are a decent performer in regard to very general cross training. So for more casual lifting, for more casual plyometric training and more class style and HIIT style training, the shoe does a pretty good job in regard to its performance. My third pro is that this model does utilize some responsibly sourced materials. So this knit upper here is made out of a recycled polyester yarn, and then the midsole in this model is an algae-based foam midsole. So if you are very conscious of the materials used in your training shoes, this could definitely be something to consider if you are looking into this model. But now let's talk about a few cons I have with the Lane 8 Trainer 81. So 3 cons that I have with the Trainer 81 is number 1, its performance is just okay. So at a price point of $130 USD, if I'm gonna be seriously lifting or seriously cross training, I am not taking this model. And so for more general stuff for daily wear, they're fine, sure. But for serious training, I'm passing on this shoe, and that's for 2 key reasons. And bear with me here because I'm going on a little training rant. So the first reason is the upper construction. It's snug and it form fits the foot well, but it just does not lock the foot down well when you are getting more explosive. So for example, when I was doing lateral explosive work, this knit upper just doesn't have a beefy enough sidewall to lock the foot down, so I was having foot overhang. When I was doing sprints, we're lacking material up here to really lock down that forefoot, so I was sliding into the end of the toe box, and then also the boot back here could use some more reinforced materials to lock the heel down. So overall, the upper construction is subpar for serious training. The second reason why I don't like this model for serious training is due to that upper lacking the ability to lock the foot down, you're training on a pretty heavy and thick midsole and outsole. So it almost feels like you're lifting on a platform, and as you get more serious, it almost feels like you're moving and the upper is like allowing the foot to kind of like come out of its place, and then like the outsole and midsole kind of lag behind it. It's really interesting and I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it almost feels like, for example, like if I'm doing like skater strides, I'm like moving and the outsole and midsole are like following my movement. So it's not the best feeling in regard to overall performance output. The second reason why I don't necessarily like this shoe is the ETPU insole. So with this insole, it reminds me of like that Mizuno TCO1 COB tech in that model. We have this like bumpy texture. It's pretty apparent, and honestly, while I do think it will grow on most folks and it might not bother you, it is something to consider because it gives the shoe a different feel, and if you don't like that about this model, that could definitely be something that comes off as a turnoff for you. The third con that I have with this model is its overall width. And so while it is a decent shoe for folks with narrow width, I think if you have a neutral width or even wider foot, this shoe is gonna feel very limiting. And even on Lane 8's site, they say that it does fit more snug, so size up a half size if you have a wider foot. Even then, I don't think you're going to have enough room. I have a neutral width foot and I felt a little bit limited in this shoe. And in regard to length, I had about like a half thumb to a full thumb's width of length at the end of the shoe. So if I were to size up a half size, I'm gonna be swimming in the shoe even more in regard to length, but I don't even know if the width is gonna be there in regard to overall comfort. So for neutral width feet and folks with wider feet, this is definitely not gonna be the model to explore and look into. But now let's talk about the performance of the Lane 8 Trainer 81. Let's get into it, people. So to chat on the performance of the Lane 8 Trainer 81, I'm going to break this section into a few different parts. I'm going to talk about lifting, versatile training, shorter runs, and then daily wear. In the context of lifting, the shoe is definitely going to be best served for folks who want it for like more light to moderately loaded sessions. So if you're investing in this shoe for daily wear, HIIT workouts, and classes, and you plan to just sprinkle some lifting in on a weekly basis, this model will work just fine for your needs. Overall, the midsole and outsole provide you with a decent amount of stability. I would not load this shoe more than 365 pounds, so if you're lifting less than that, you should be fine in this model. And again, with the overall upper construction, it should work for more static strength work. But if you get more heavy and more dynamic in nature, that would definitely be something to keep an eye on with this model, especially if you plan to train heavier. with versatile training, the shoe is okay. And I tread lightly with saying that because like for casual stuff, it will work just fine. But if you are much more serious in regard to like athletic style training or plyometrics, the shoe I think will start to fall off. And it's a bummer because the midsole and outsole I do think give you a nice level of pop and a nice level of bounce on the floor. So I think if Lane 8 were to rework this upper construction to be a little bit more form-fitting in regard to like locking the foot down and not just providing you with a like nice snug fit, then the shoe would be onto something because the outsole grips pretty well. I like the TPU wrap around the midsole in regard to boosting this overall in regard to boosting the shoe's durability and adding like a little bit of stability down here on the midsole. And the algae-based foam midsole I think does a pretty good job at walking that fine line between being stable enough for some moderate loads but then also bouncy enough for plyos. So again, it will work for versatile training, but there are definitely things that need to be tweaked in this model to make it a really good performer for more serious training. So in regard to running, this model is okay. I would say probably cap your mileage to about 2 miles or down. So if you plan to use this shoe for like a pre or post workout run, just for like a cool down or a warm up, it should work fine. But in regard to longer runs, I could see them being pretty uncomfortable. And then when it comes to sprints, I would say probably pass on this shoe just because the upper construction isn't there in regard to locking that foot down and allowing you to really dig into the ground and propel yourself forward. And then when it comes to daily wear, the shoe is pretty good. What I would say is this, is I like the overall appearance of the shoe for the most part, but it does get pretty dirty up here on the microfiber overlays. And so if you go with this shoe and you get a lighter colorway, definitely keep an eye on that because I think they'll get dirty pretty fast on you. So while I like their appearance for daily wear, I do think the daily wear component of the shoe could also be tweaked in regard to the overall construction of this model. All right, so now let's answer the question, who are the Lane 8 Trainer AD1 best for? Honestly, if you are somebody with a narrow foot width who wants this shoe for more casual and recreational stuff and daily wear, then this model might be for you. But I'm gonna say probably pass on this shoe, and it is not TF2 approved. For $130 USD, I think there are superior models in regard to performance and models that honestly look just as good as this shoe that can function just as well for daily wear. So when chatting on the sizing and fit in the Lane 8 Trainer AD1, if you have a narrow foot width, go true to size. If you have a neutral foot width, go up a half size. And if you have a wide foot width, don't consider this model. Overall, they do fit a little bit more narrow and more snug, so definitely check out Lane 8's recommendations for sizing 2 on their site. And if you do want additional questions answered on sizing, drop a comment down below or reach out to Lane 8 to play it safe. So when it comes to price, you can expect to pay $130 USD for the Lane 8 Trainer AD1. Now, honestly, I feel like that price point is a miss for this shoe, and that's because of this model's performance. I think if Lane 8 was able to tweak this upper construction and make it much more conducive to serious performance and even maybe make it a little bit wider to accommodate different foot widths, this model could be a strong shoe. However, for $130 USD, there are comparable models out there and models that cost less that kind of run circles around the shoe in the gym in regard to overall performance. All right guys, now let's go over the weight, heel to toe drop, and insole in the Trainer AD1. For my size 10 model here, we have a weight of 13.45 ounces. The heel to toe drop in this shoe is 10 millimeters. And then once again, we do have a removable insole in this shoe. It is this ETPU insole with these pellets. All right, now let's go over the construction of the Lane 8 Trainer AD1. Up here on the toe, we have an extended outsole layer that wraps up, and then we have this reinforced microfiber layer that covers the front of the toe box and the medial side. Honestly, I do like this feature. However, this microfiber layer has been getting pretty dirty pretty fast on me, so that is something to consider, especially if you go with a lighter colorway in this model. Looking at the toe box and the upper construction, we have a recycled knit that extends the entirety of the shoe. We do have a booty style construction in this model, and then we also have microfiber overlays here on the lateral and medial side of the shoe. These overlays also serve as the base points for the eyelets for this model. And then looking at the midfoot construction, we have 4 core eyelets in the shoe, and then the laces are all held down with loops here on the front of the booty construction. So as you can see, we do have a little bit more padding here on the front of the booty, and then we also have a little bit of padding back here in the heel. However, there isn't a ton of structure to this model's heel, so it would be cool to see a little bit more material back here on the heel, in my opinion, to really lock down that heel and the boot when you're training. We have an external pull tab here, but it is not a loop. It's just a tab to kind of pull the shoe on because it is a booty style construction. Looking at the midsole, we have a TPU overlay that extends the entirety of the shoe's midsole, and then on the inside of the shoe, the midsole is composed with an algae-based bloom foam midsole. Looking at the outsole, we have this more bumpy texture here, and as a whole, it does a pretty good job at providing you with a nice amount of grip. So the midsole and outsole in this shoe, I think, are pretty dang good. However, they do need to be tweaked slightly, and once again, I've talked about that plenty in this video already. Right here in the midfoot, you can hear how stable that TPU layer is that covers that foam midsole. And then looking at the insole, once again, we do have an eTPU insole here. We have some pellets. It reminds me once again of that Mizuno TC01 COB's tech that was in that shoe in regard to like the pellet-like structure. This gives the shoe a little bit more of like a bumpy slash versatile feel. It's interesting. I think some folks will like it and some folks will not like it. Overall though, that's kind of the gist of this model's construction. If you have additional questions, drop a comment down below. All right guys, that wraps up my review of the Lane 8 Trainer AD1. Honestly, I want to like this shoe, and I do think there is a small population out there who will really resonate with the shoe's overall performance and fit, but for the time being, I cannot recommend this shoe because I think there are construction features that need to be tweaked in regard to justifying that $130 USD price point for this model's performance. If you have any questions on this model, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally. And as always guys, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.